Ben Gougeon with Quad City Arts, and this week on Talking Art, supported by Quad City Bank and Trust, I am sitting down with playwright, director, actor, and producer Curtis B. Lewis Jr., whose original play, The Half, will be performing at the TMBC Lincoln Resource Center in Davenport, June 26 through 29. Sit back, and I hope you enjoy. So, Curtis, The Half, you are producing it at the TMBC at the Lincoln Resource Center coming up June 26th through 29th, and you are acting in it. You wrote it. You're producing it. You're doing all the things.
Yes.
Yeah, tell me about it. Tell me about the play.
The play itself, it started from 8 years ago when I was in St. Louis. I just had the idea came because I come from the Half.
Yeah.
The Half is Trust Street in Rock Island, Illinois. It's we call it 14th and Half Street, but short term, the Half.
Oh, awesome.
It runs from 7th Avenue all the way to 18th Avenue. So it's a long strip.
Mm-hmm.
And back in the day, it could be rough growing up, or it can also be family, unity, community. And a lot of things that I've seen are incorporated into the play. So you've seen violence, you've seen police brutality, but you obviously seen fun stuff too, comedy. You've seen people going down the street, and I was a quiet person.
Yeah.
But I observed people, and they became characters in my tablet. And so I'm on the back porch one day from college. My cousin, he approaches me. He's on a bicycle. Mm-hmm. And he said, Captain Kurt, what's up, man? You back home from school? I said, yeah, man, So I had my little notepad. He said, let me tell you something about what my uncle, my father told me, which is my uncle, Uncle George. And I think that seed right there, what he was sharing with me, is said, I can be different. Even though I'm from this place where, most time we got this label that you're not going to be this. You're not going to be anything. You can't be that. So my conversation that I had with him, he said, if you are going a direction with a group of people, you get into their vehicle and they steer off to the right, immediately get out and go your own direction, because y'all was going in that direction. Mm-hmm. So what I got from that, of course it's metaphor, is that it's okay to be yourself. It's okay to be different. The same people that go in that direction, opposite, they might come back and see what you're doing and want to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. So the Have is just originated from a lot of conversations I've seen growing up. Two boys, they on the porch, and they're having a conversation about life in a poetic way. Kind of Shakespearean, but not Shakespeare. It's my style, I guess,
That's awesome. I love the local connection of that. They always talk about the idea of writing what you know. Mm. And this is your street. This is where you grew up. Yeah. This is your life. And you've got another local actor and also another multi-hyphenate, Aubrey Barnes, who, we've had on the show before and love, and he's an amazing poet and educator and performer and so many things. So I'm so excited to see the two of you in this. Kind of to reiterate, it's going to be at the Lincoln Resource Center, and they just unveiled their new auditorium recently, which looks fantastic. Yes. This is the first stage production in there, right?
Yes, it'll be the first.
That's so exciting. That's awesome. It's going to be June 26th through 29th. Thursday through Saturday at 7:30 p.m. and then also a couple of matinees on Saturday and Sunday with a talkback on Sunday, right?
On Saturday.
On Saturday.
Yes, Saturday.
On Saturday. So you can come and talk about your experiences with Rock Island as well. And, I loved how you talk about how the Half can be so many different things. Mm-hmm. It's that dichotomy of family and unity and community, but also the violence, the police brutality, those things that you mentioned.
Yeah.
You know, and it sounds like this play is going to explore a lot of the gray area in between that as well. You know, which is something I love. Like, I love art that lives in those gray areas, and how the blacks and the white metaphorically intersect in those areas. You know, to me, that's where the interesting thing is, and that's where the meat is.
Yeah, it's more like abstract, you know, art, but with dialogue. My cousin, he got killed on the half. So my transition of when I first wrote it, I was depicting people,
Sure.
and when he got killed, which was in 2019, I stepped away from the play because I thought I was like speaking things into the future. You know, you had that, and then but I had that moment. I was still working on other material, but going back to this, the spirit was there.
Yeah.
And these characters in words, and I'm writing, and I think I spent the whole day to get the whole format down. And I'm crying through the writing, cause and when I handed over to Aubrey and he feeling that same emotion,
Sure.
I like, oh, it's there.
Yeah.
It's in the writing, you know, it's real. Even the moments when we laughing, it's real. And I feel like when you feel it as a writer, the people will feel it.
Right.
You know, even though it's an experience from a black experience, it's every experience.
Sure.
Any person can relate to the highs and the lows through life. It's just getting to that medium. And my grandfather, he a great influence in my life, which I was going down that direction. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here with you, because I've seen a lot, you know. And the half is a story that's written from love. And even to honor my cousin T-Mon, who passed away. He actually got killed. And when I heard of his death, it did something to me. I said, nah, man. I never, because we grew up together.
Yeah.
We clowned.
Yeah.
We called it joking on each other. But I'll put that in the play. It's gonna be an experience, you know. I know I just had to share that.
No, it sounds fascinating and just incredibly, obviously very personal, and very poignant, but you know, real life. That mix of like, life is a mix of comedy and tragedy, and all those things melded up. And I'm so excited to see it. How did you get involved in theater originally?
Interesting. I was very quiet, like I shared.
Yeah.
But when I got on the stage, I can become something.
Yeah.
So I started in the church doing church skits, and I think I was like 9 years old. We do a little skits. We can direct them, act in them, and then put them up in front of the audience. So from there, my mother, she wanted me to, as I got older, she wanted me to teach in front of the people.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I said, how about I take what you have and I'll turn it into a play, a little skit.
Yeah. So
I did that. And then there was a woman that said, you know, you can go to college to study theater. I said, you can? She said, yeah. Why don't you look into it? Because I always thought, you know, wrestling. I grew up as a wrestler.
Okay.
I wanted to go and win the Olympics.
Sure.
So
that's awesome.
And but when she said that light just, I'm like, oh, I can do that. Because I was always writing.
Yeah.
You know, I started off writing like positive notes to myself off the environment I came from. You know, I mentioned, well, I didn't share, but, you know, people would tell me about my father. Good man, great man. But the stories I heard of him, I said, you know what, I'm going to switch it and make something positive out of his story. And so I would do that with my writing, and I started doing that in middle school and transitioned to writing poetry. And then that also led to writing dialogue I was like, you know what, I can see people come alive when I write. And I didn't know what I was doing until I started studying theater.
Mm-hmm.
So when me going to college, I'm in front of all theater people.
Sure.
And they alive. So I had this professor, she was walking in and said, anyone here auditioning for the play that's coming?
Mm-hmm.
Or who's a theater student? I said, I raised my hand, I'm a theater student. A lot of other people raised their hands. I said, oh, you, sir, are you gonna audition? I said, no, I need some couple of, experience under my belt. She said, no, you come to my office. No, you go audition. You gonna audition. I said, no, I ain't gonna. You know what I'm saying? In my head, I'm saying it. So then later that transition, a couple of days later, I see her again. And it's all the theater students, dance, theater, tech, everyone in the auditorium. And she comes to me again and she asks, are you going to audition?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, nah. And this girl, she said, ooh, you don't never say no to Miss Kathy. So now I'm curious, like, who is this woman? Because I the energy she was giving made me feel like a mother from, almost like a mom that she really cared about.
Yeah.
Just not everyone. And everyone gravitates towards. So she said, let's go. I'm going to take it to my office. We're going to get a monologue. What is a monologue? So I'm learning all these terms. I'm not used to them. I'm just used to skits from school. From even though I read plays, the terms didn't speak to me.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, the whole audition process is completely just its own beast, know?
So she takes me to her office and she gives me a Raising the Sun. She said, you going to leave? You ever heard of this play? I said, no, I never heard of that play. She said, well, it's a guy. She gave me the details. Walter Lee Younger. He's 35-year-old. And, gave me the whole spiel. And I want you to go to your dorm, memorize this, and then she shared with me how to present it. So I go, I have the whole thing down. So I go the next day, I get in front of her. There's other directors. I knew every word, but it dropped.
Yeah.
I said, I'm sorry, can I start over? I made it through, but I feel good because that was a challenge for me.
Right.
So I called my mother and said, man, I don't know if I got it, but it just made me feel good to do that, someone who cared. So I go back that evening, and there's a cast, or a callback. Mm-hmm. And my name was on the callback, so I'm thinking, I'm in the play. A girl said, no, callback is such and such. I said, okay. Well, I got called back then. I know I'm going to get in the play. So the play was A Lesson Before Dying. I go and read for Jefferson. And once I read it, I said, I know I can do that. So I said, I'm going to give it all I can. And I go back the following day. And then my name was next to Jefferson. I said, dang, that's it. So people like, man, they thought I was a senior.
Yeah.
I said, man, I believe if something is in front of me, I know I can execute it, And that's always been in my whole life. You give me something, I'm gonna give it all I got. If I fall, I'm gonna learn to fall. But I'm gonna give it all I got. I don't know if that.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a meaty role. I did that show in college as well.
Oh yeah.
I played I think Sheriff Guidry. Was it Guidry? I don't remember his last name. Yeah. But yeah, like the kind of bad guy sheriff in it. But that's a meaty play.
Yeah.
And that's a huge role to step into.
It was, but in high school, I would I'm not sure if you're familiar with Upward Bound.
Yeah.
Over the summer, we would stay at St. Ambrose campus, and a woman by name Jan Anderson, she was the director, and she pushed the importance of reading. So the whole summer we just read books. I'm like, man, I ain't never read this much. So, but we also when they give us assignments, I would remember, every word. And then I think that gave me the comfort to when it came to like scripts.
Yeah.
I was preparing myself. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to like a test, I knew everything on the test because word from word, and so it's like a preparation that I was getting without knowing that I was getting that training.
Right.
So.
Well, and that's always so fascinating to me. So many things that happen in our lives that prepare us for things that we don't think about or realize.
Yeah.
When I was in undergrad, there was a directing class I wanted to get in, and I was a junior and didn't have priority on the list of, so like all the seniors got into the class before I could get into it. And because of that, like some friends of mine who are in the same situation were like, well, we're just going to direct our own plays and produce our own plays, since we can't be in the class. And like that has led me to producing a lot of theater on my own because I learned so much from that, which you didn't expect. And suddenly you're like, oh, I like this too, and I'm good at this.
For real.
Those happy accidents and the way the universe speaks to us in different ways, that we may not expect. And you also have a production company.
Yes.
Journey Live Production. So tell me about the history of that and how that came around.
So in 2007, I wrote a play called Beauty Inside and Out.
Mm-hmm.
I was still 2006. I still was in high school, and but 2008. Well, I produced it 2007 at the near the Adler Theater,
Mm-hmm.
and with the help of my aunt Yolanda Atwater. So it's like I was being guided, through this. So in 2008, I was back home from college, a break, and I had a dream because I was trying to fish for names. Once I went to college, I've seen entrepreneurship through my family. My grandfather, he was big into real estate, and he bought a property, which isn't, I share about that, in Moline, and he was like, that's your theater. At that time, I'm like, well, my theater.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to start a theater company. So when I went to college, I was like, yeah, I'm going to start a theater company. Like, everyone else talking about going to New York, Chicago, LA. And I like, nah, I'm going to go back home. I'm going to start this theater company.
Yeah.
So transition, 2008, I have a dream. In the dream, Journey Live, like a whisper. So I woke up, Journey Live. And then the production came later. But that Journey Live meant a lot because I was going through the transition of learning myself.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on this journey, and I will always read books. And what stood out was journey. The journey is going to be arduous. That word, difficult. It's going to be challenging. I like, wow. But the live, how you live your life, with show and action. So fast forward, I moved to different couple places, and then I get a phone call about the property that my grandfather purchased a while back. And they like, what, you want to take on ownership? I was like, ooh, what that entails. I said, it's a responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember what my grandfather told me, because at this time he was going through dementia. So I couldn't go to him, but like have a conversation with him.
Sure.
But I remember what he told me. bought that theater for you, turned it to a theater. So I would have dreams, vivid, like I know it's God giving me dreams. I'm on the top of this balcony. I'm looking down, and there's kids everywhere, full house. I see two of my cousins to the left, and they having a conversation. But how did y'all do it? Like, how did y'all do it? How did y'all get this to come back up? I didn't know what that was at the time. Fast forward, someone called me. Oh, you know that building, right? That church? That's your building, right? You know, I had a vision that there's gonna be buses parked in front. Fast forward, the guy who was working for me, he said the same thing that the lady was telling me, which was my aunt. You know, I see a lot of buses parked out front. Fast forward, this building, it catches on fire. Boom. I had no insurance because I'm learning about the real estate.
Right.
And I said, you know what? You know, the city on me. You know, what you gonna do with it? You gonna tear it down? You gonna do this? I said, you know, I believe in my vision that God put in me. And all these dreams that I'm having, these people, if it wasn't for those, I probably would have said, just tear it down. I said, no, we're going to build it back up. Because I seen that vision.
Mm-hmm.
I seen them people that was talking to me.
Yeah.
That wasn't just people. That was God going, hey, don't give up. So Journey Live, man, like I said, it's going to come with challenges. But your life, how you show up, your actions, it's going to be worth it. Because you're not just doing it for yourself. I seen them kids in the dream, which is a vision. And that's why I can't stop. And that's how Journey Live came about, and it's continuing to grow. So we do have a studio space, a house, and then the big church right next to it on 5th Avenue.
Mm-hmm. And it's such a beautiful building.
Yes.
You know, every time since I've moved here, every time I drive by, I would ask my wife, like, what's that building? What's the story there? Because I love finding interesting spaces like that. So I was so excited to hear that it was you and that you're going to be doing stuff there.
Yeah, that was given to me 6 years ago, but I've been a part of the church since I was 9.
Got it.
So my grandfather has been in our family for quite a while.
That's awesome.
And including the house next door, which it's not like a studio when you go into the house.
Sure.
So I refurbished, redid everything. So when people walk in, they have oh, this different. I thought it was something different. So our goal is to start in there, to do like a museum for actors, like a museum, and people going like on a tour.
Yeah.
And these characters, they come alive, telling the story of whatever that might be for that what you call it, season, but quarter.
Sure.
So.
Well, and that's awesome. Over the last couple of years, I've gotten really into and interested in immersive theater, which is, you know, bringing people into a space and that's not a traditional, we're going to sit down and watch what's on the stage, but everything's going to happen around them. So I love the idea of that.
I think it'll be different, unique, because I haven't seen it around here at least. But I'm excited to see what happens. So little by little, though, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the journey. Like when people go like, man, you going to get it going? I said, I'm not rushing it, because if you rush, you might miss something. You know? Right.
Well, yeah, and sometimes there's, you know, I'm a big believer that the universe will tell you when the right time is.
When it's time.
Yeah, you know the time. And, you know, especially with art and theater, I find that, especially as a producer and a director, like, if you try to force something, it never comes out the way you want it. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like you're either rushing it or just things aren't in alignment, you know. But there are those other times where like the magic click happens and it's like, nope, this is it. And you dive in and you do the thing and it's everything you want it to be. You know, it's
It's interesting.
it's nice to hear you talk like, you know, when you listen, you know, and that's what it all comes down to me for is listening.
Yeah, listening.
You know, you talked earlier about being a quiet kid and just observing and listening. You know, and you see it all kind of shifting and
because like you said, it speaks to you, and most time it's through people, you know, or just like stillness. You're like, dang, what's that? Oh, that's confirmation. You said something that I was thinking.
Right.
And it's just confirmation that this is what I know I'm supposed to do. Like even interest in like the TMBC.
Yeah.
I think when I first was coming back, someone gave me a tour. Oh, you should do the theater here or do a play here. But it didn't like, I didn't have a feeling.
Sure.
Until I started coming into the space more like recently or a couple of years back. And you know, getting to know Tracy Singleton more.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And then she gave me a tour of the whole space. I said like, wow, I didn't know this whole building was like this.
Yeah,
you know,
they are doing so much
through
there. It's incredible.
I said, it's like a entrepreneur, you know, just all entrepreneurs.
Incubator.
Yeah. And so just being connected with her and, you know, everything just happened. Like no force. It just happened.
Right.
So.
And here you are, and you're doing the half. What is it? Obviously, we talked earlier about. What the half is about and the genesis of that story. But, you know, as a playwright, like, what do you want someone to walk away from seeing the play take with them?
That they have a story, you know. Of course, there's like messages within the play. You know, I live by the thing, the journey, we're using stories to inspire.
Sure.
And that's, when I write plays, I want to inspire people. Because I come from a background, you know, in the church. And I also want to carry that, my belief, too. Even if it might be raw here and there, I still want to carry that essence with me to honor my grandparents. And which my grandfather, he still's with me. And my grandmother, she transitioned. But to live a full life, it plays off the half, but sometimes we have do stuff. Like give it all you got. Even if you fall, I'm gonna try again. And hopefully this time I do a little bit better. And don't rush the process, just trusting it. Because we talk a lot about dreams. Dreams that we're gonna make it onto the other side, whatever the other side may be.
Right.
So hopefully just, you know, feeling inspired. And like, man, we all got purpose. We just gotta find it.
Yeah.
You know. So that's it.
That's awesome. I love that. And it when you're writing, do you try to, like, I'm always curious how people write, because I dabble in writing, but do not consider myself a writer.
Yeah.
Like, I get very bogged down in making things perfect. And do you kind of tend to go in like with I want to tell a story and the message behind that story fills in, or do you kind of approach it of like, this is what I want people to take away from this? How can I achieve that?
Be honest, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I want the answer, Curtis.
The real answer is I don't know. I pray on it. I pray on everything I do.
Sure.
And the reason I do that because I think that everything I write is spiritual, but it's real. It's real life. I observe people. So I go to parks and I sit and I write, but I listen. And like yesterday I was talking to a guy. I met him like 6 years ago, but I ran into him because I was like, man, where's the dude that make these sticks around here? He make canes. And in my phone, I got him as Stickman. I don't know if that's his name for real. Like Stickman. So I ran into him. I'm like, yo, hey, you the dude? He said, man, I remember you. I said, man, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
So our conversation, he a character now. So I go home and I go write about it, that conversation.
Yeah.
So just some of the things he shared with me. He said a homeless man came to me and he said that, when you these sticks, you don't have to sell them. They'll sell themselves. They very unique, very unique. And he said, people got these sticks. You can't recreate them.
Yeah.
They have a life of their own. He said some of these sticks will keep people away from you. He said because they have that energy. He said, man, you a good man, huh? He said because most people when they come around here, they itching. so that became a part of like, oh, he a character.
Yeah.
So that's how I write. I listen, and I didn't know I was doing it until I started reading a lot of August Wilson, and I like, dang, I write like, we have a lot of things in common. So I started studying a lot of his interviews. I like, wow, I write, similar to his style.
Yeah.
Like I don't try to force it. I allow it to guide itself. Like I was writing this play called Funky Soul. I started off writing it as a one-man play. And then another voice started coming in, a girl. Like she wanted to come.
Sure.
Yo, hold on now. Yeah, I'm here too. And then I'm writing again. And then the dude, his friend, Frank, he comes in. And then a villain dude, which I came in this week. I said, dang, that's going to be nice. And I think just not forcing it, just listening. And I write every day.
Yeah.
And I make sure I write every day, even if it's a little paragraph. I make sure I put something out. Like I might write about this conversation.
Right.
And it might turn into a play,
I love it.
So I'll make sure I just stay listening and just being as authentic as I can. So, yeah.
Well, and that's, I have found when I do write, like you were talking about the girl coming in and the Frank coming in and the villain, like that's how it's got to happen. Like you start to write the story and then there are people that just need to be there. And I loved what you were talking about, kind of that conversation with Stickman and how that became a character. One of the playwrights I really like a lot, Annie Baker, she talks about how when she writes, like she just writes characters and she just spends time writing about different characters and not necessarily putting them together. But then when she starts to do a play, she has these full like 30, 40 page character descriptions and dossiers, everything about the character. And so then she can plug them into each other and then the play just happens naturally because she knows how those characters are going to react and interact.
That's deep.
Yeah. And it makes me just think of that, like recording those conversations and getting them down. And, then you have these chunks of life that you're able to just... this is what happened with Stickman.
Yeah.
And that's how he's going to interact with us.
It's interesting, like you share that, because I'm like, wow, just hearing other people, how they do it is like similar.
Yeah.
It's like, dang, that's deep.
Yeah, and this show is just you and Aubrey, who, like I said earlier, is just such a talented person. and 2 brothers, right? Are they real brothers?
They like, boys, like
Sure.
friends.
Friends down the street.
Yeah, friends.
Yeah, on the half. One thing I thought that is really cool, what you have been doing with your social media, is you're bringing in all these ties of local entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Which my assumption that it's tying into kind of what we were talking earlier about chasing dreams. Do you want to talk a little about that? And
Oh yeah, it's a countdown. I had started years back, and someone said, "Oh, I love that you do that because you tie the community in." So I feel like for this, I've been on hiatus for a while. So the half is like a rebirth, and I'm like, you know what? This time I'm gonna do it with people talking about their story.
yeah,
So I started off, and I thought I was gonna ask them one question. So then that one question, I thought, no, we gotta get a little deeper now. we gotta get a little deeper. So, and I'm like, hold on, a lot of people like really is familiar with the title The Half. I knew that, but you didn't know how much of an impact that it would have off the title itself, The Half. So people inbox me, hey man, can I be a part of that? Hey, I see what you're doing on social media. I'm getting inboxes. I was like, oh, this community.
that's us. Yeah.
So I'll maybe link up with a certain person. Hey, ask them a question. What's your dream? How do you cope with a loss? Or, how did you start your business? And then I'm like, wow, I've gone so long. I forgot, I'm older now. There's so many people doing great things around here. Entrepreneurs, and I'm going into businesses. I'm like, wow, I didn't know this existed. So I go into this building. They have entrepreneurs and here. I'm like, wow, where I been? So it's great to get back in touch with the community. Like, just not saying I'm a part of it, but I am a part of the community. There's a lot of love.
Yeah.
And people want to see art that's showcasing stories that tells life events, because a lot of people, they might, interact. I never seen a play. You never seen it? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
This come see The Half. That's your first play.
Awesome. That's right. We want everyone to come see The Half. Once again, it's going to be June 26th through 29th, Thursdays and Saturdays at 7:30 p.m., Saturday and Sunday also at 3 p.m. with a talkback on Saturday. That's going to be at the Lincoln Resource Center up in Davenport. Curtis, I'm so excited to see it. Like, I think it's so awesome what you're doing. The local ties, your history tied into it, the community that you're building around it. It's really exciting, and I can't wait for you to kind of christen that auditorium with your piece. So congratulations, and I can't wait.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate this time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for letting me chat with you. It was a pleasure, man.
Likewise.
All right, have a good one.
You too.